I think that's kind of one of the exciting things about AI and LLMs. And so that has a lot of uses, but it has no ability to innovate. And so when you use only AI to do SEO, you're going to reach the median. You have to use the headers for SEO value because they're too valuable.
Today, on the next episode on the SEO Lab, we are here with Kyle Bailey, a home service marketing expert with over 15 years of experience helping home services grow. Kyle is the founder of Frontburner Marketing and is known as the Home Service Hammer. In this episode, we'll talk about SEO, home services, marketing, and much more. So once again, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here. Happy to talk to you today.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. So going back into SEO, when all this started for you, I think it was 2010 when it all started. So why local SEO and how it all started for you?
Well, yeah, so I grew up in the trades. I started I was about 10 years old with my dad remodeling houses. And when you're doing remodeling, you touch everything. So plumbing, electrical, of course, cabinets, countertops, building our own cabinets, our own doors and stuff. Did a lot of doors and windows. When I grew up, I started doing framing. So we did a lot of siding, roofing, exterior work, done foundation work, done foundation repair work, landscaping, you name it, I've done it. And so in 2010, I was transitioning out of the physical world and wanted to find something that I felt like would have demand for the rest of my life, and was really attracted to the online marketing world, really enjoyed what it offered and kind of every day something new, right? And so started my agency in 2010, actually started when Facebook launched their business pages, and that was my first kind of angle. That was back when Facebook was going to kill Google. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
Yeah.
But there's always been something that was going to kill Google, but it somehow never happens. And ironically, when AI hit really hard in 23, when ChatGPT released, that's when I decided to pivot fully into home service. I already had about a dozen or so clients in the home service space. And so I just decided to pivot fully into that side of the business. And I really enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But, since you're in a home services exclusively for them, what's the most hardest part when dealing with clients before you explain the SEO and local SEO and how this will help for them?
It's really not difficult to get across the value. That's not the hard part. The hard part is they've been burned so many times by disreputable agencies. I'm dealing with a client right now who was with a big name, like national level SEO company. You would know it if I told you. And that he was paying them $30,000 a year and had no rankings. In fact, his rankings went down. And when I did the site analysis, it was just a mess. It was just a mess. The URLs were a mess. Page titles were a mess. Their location scheme was awful, if they even had one. And this poor guy was paying them all that money, and they held his website captive. So once he left them, he lost his website, which, I told him he's not losing anything because that website's awful. But still, to pay $30,000 a year, the top number we ever build a website for is $5,000. And that's if you want all the bells and whistles and you want some pretty technical back end stuff. Typically, we're lower than that. And to hold somebody hostage when they're paying you that kind of money is just, it's not right. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, we took over his website, we took over the SEO, and within 3 months, we've probably 4x'd his rankings. He's back on top in a lot of areas that he had been before. So we've restored a lot of that, untangled a lot of the problems. But this is what these poor guys go through. They go through person after person who comes to them promising the world and then doesn't deliver. They give you worse outcome than you had. It would be like if somebody hired them to build a house and they built them a house that fell down. It's just not right. But anyway, I'm getting on a little bit on my soapbox. I'll step down now.
No
But
worries.
yeah,
That's
that's what
totally
got me
fine.
into it. And I've had a lot of experience in sales. I've done a lot of sales in and around home service. So I understand what the homeowner's looking for. And this helps me serve the home service business owner better because I can speak directly to the client needs. When a lot of these SEO companies, they don't understand that world. And so they're not able to speak to what the homeowner wants as quickly.
Since you have a background in home remodeling and these kind of services, do you think that's the crucial part? Because if the client is dealing with other SEO agencies, they basically gonna use a template for them, and most of the SEO agencies, they don't know their clients so well as you do. Do you think this is your power fist that you're using in a good way for them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the home service hammer bit. That's kind of the tongue-in-cheek bit. But yeah, so that's kind of I cover all bases. So I've got the technical side of the SEO, but I also understand the sales process side of it, and then I also understand really well what the homeowner wants. I know what it's like to be inside of a home when you've got dust everywhere and when you're installing something that the customer wants, and it's a hassle when you're getting it done. But I've also know what it looks like for that homeowner when that job does get done and they finally have the home they wanted when they're finished with that project.
Is it a problem for the home renovator or any kind of home services owner that most of the time they don't have a lot of information about SEO agencies, and this is the main cause of why they end up in this kind of, sometimes SEO and scam is pretty close because that's what they get most of the time. So how do you think this should be fixed when a home remodel or whatever home service offers and tries to talk to an SEO agency?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the exciting things about AI and LLMs as they come online and get more sophisticated, is it's going to get rid of the mid-level players. All of the mediocre SEO people are going to be gone because you can already do that with AI. Even today, before it even gets to, I don't think AI is anywhere near to its mature level. And even now, you can already do mediocre SEO with AI today. And so it's going to get rid of a lot of these mid-level players. And that's the problem that these home service business remodelers, HVAC, electrical, these business owners, their problem is they don't have the tools or the time to truly be able to evaluate these SEO companies making these claims. They don't. I mean, how would you know to do that? They just don't have that kind of time.
But there's backs and forth when dealing with AI. I personally have seen a lot of case studies when people fire the whole SEO agencies, fire the whole crew, and trying to do Claude take over everything, and then days later the organic traffic crashes, impression, clicks, rankings, and everything. So I think that's still a case when you need a good SEO agency and also SEO expert, a team of them if possible, so they can guide you, so you also have your free hands that you can do more of the stuff. So what do you think?
Well, here's what most people don't understand about AI. People think that AI is like a person, but AI is not like a person at all. AI is like a summary machine. And so it's a machine that goes out and summarizes this kind of the high middle of any group of information. And so that has a lot of uses, but it has no ability to innovate. And so when you use only AI to do SEO, you're going to reach the median, but the median doesn't get you found. You have to rise above the median, and you can't do that with LLMs. Not yet. I don't know if you ever will be able to. It will have to reach a true artificial intelligence capability, and it's not there yet. It's a very, very good summarizing machine. I do this now. I use it for my Google Search Console. I'll dump Google Search Console that's got, 15 or 20,000 data points in it. And I'll say, give me the 5 most useful tasks I can do from this, and it'll dump that out really quickly. It'll also analyze, what are the lowest hanging fruit opportunities across the entire bandwidth of that data. So it's very good at taking a group of data and pulling out, hey, here are some key observations. I'll also dump an entire transcript out of a 2-hour video that I've done and say, give me the top 10 talking points from this video. Blah, it'll do it. So it's good at that. What it can't do yet, and again, I don't know when it will ever be able to, is to be able to innovate, to truly be able to go, okay, here's all the data I see. Here's how you can be different. It can't really do that yet. And so that's why these things crash, because if you get LLMs to take over your SEO, you're telling your SEO to go to the middle, and the middle's not going to get you on page 1.
Yeah, and in some cases you don't even achieve the middle. Sometimes you fail because, as you said, it will summarize and it doesn't know the your story. First, you need to explain your story.
Oh, yeah, and that goes to my book, which I'll talk about later. That's actually the title of my book, is What's Your Story? So perfect timing.
Yeah. So what about your book? It is your first book. Why you decided to write a book at first place, and who will it serve once it's live and published?
Yeah, it's going to serve the same market. And the reason I chose to write it is I was talking to one of my clients at one point, and I was telling them how they needed to tell their story. And he was hitting the same roadblock that I kept seeing over and over again, and that is that the average home service business owner, they don't understand the value of their story. And so how this shakes out is they start sounding just like everybody else, because there's nothing on their site that differentiates them in any way. But the reality is AI is using your website now for a vetting device. Your website no longer is this center where everybody comes to. AI is now going to be the center everybody comes to, right? And so your website needs to tell your story in such a way that makes you stand out from the next guy. And so what I talk about in my book is how to tell your story. First of all, you build out your core values. And this is going to sound very cliche, but it's true. You build out your core values. Then the real next step is lots of people have built out core values. Where it doesn't really become effective is when it doesn't get baked into the entire organization. And when you know that it is when you can hear reports of your salespeople on doorsteps talking to homeowners who are saying the same thing from your core value standpoint. That's when you know your story has baked into your entire organization. But that's just like your core values. Then you have the execution piece. Well, if you're enacting these core values in every aspect of your business, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing everything by honor, right? You're going to be doing everything honorably. And then what that's going to start coming back is in reviews. Reviews are going to come back and say, hey, these guys could have taken me to the cleaners because I didn't know any different, but they told me this and it saved me $10,000 on this job. You're going to hear that kind of stuff in reviews. But then another part of your story is the technical side. So I call it your why. Lots of people have talked about that. There's a really famous book, Start With Why. But I call it your tactical why and your esoteric why. Your esoteric why is your core values. Your tactical why is much different. It goes down to the materials that you use. For instance, in roofing, Owens Corning shingles. My client uses Owens Corning Duration shingles because they have a patented nail strip in the center. That nail strip causes nails not to be able to pierce too deeply. And that causes shingles to adhere much longer down the road. 15 years down the road, they're not going to fall off the way other shingles will. Long after that roofer's left town, those shingles start falling off. Now that customer has to pay again, right? But a roofer who is going to invest in higher quality shingles and insist they won't do a job without doing these shingles, because they know it's going to give the customer a better value, even if it costs them jobs. See, they're going to use this value of shingle. That goes back to your why. That's your tactical why, but it's based on your core values and your esoteric why. So that's the whole basis of the book, is how you tell your story in such a way that it cycles through the entire organization of your business. If you think about it from a human, from your hair follicles all the way to your toenails, right? And how all that works out to the customer. And so when you begin to tell this entire story, it completely changes how your website functions. It changes the way that LLMs and Google sees you, because you're talking about all these ancillary things. and it speaks of your value as a whole person to the client. So that's the goal of the book, to help these home service business owners transform their business and be able to tell their story top to bottom.
So it's like the earlier that we talk about how these home services can survive or stand in front of SEO agencies and scammers. So be able to identify what needs for you in order to get leads. But when we're talking about leads, let's talk how SEO agencies for home services can and will be able to get leads for themselves, first of all.
Leads for the agency?
Yeah.
Or leads for the home service business owner client?
Leads for the agency first.
Oh, well, I think doing good work, that's the main thing. What I want to be hearing is I want to be hearing about business owners who are telling their friends about my service, because I've got one guy, they're a Facebook ads agency, and they were actually put in touch with me because I was managing the SEO for a client. I don't do ads. And so they put me in touch because they needed some collateral assets on the website. And so we had a brief conversation, and he came back to me and said, "Hey, man, you sound different than every other SEO agency that I've ever talked to. We don't even use SEO agencies because they're all scammers." And so he regularly feeds me clients now. And I just think that when you do good, especially in the SEO world, you're probably not old enough to, well, and you're not American either, but in America in the 70s, used car salesmen were able to rip people off left, right, and center because there was no way for anybody really to see through it. You could do all kinds of things and sell people a $200 car for $5,000 just because it had a good paint job on it. Well, it's that way in SEO too. SEO agencies rip people off all the time because they're doing substandard work, but the customer doesn't know any better, And so the first thing I start with is I guarantee every single client, I will get on a call with you for free, our first discovery call. I will guarantee you that I will give you at least 10 tips that I see from your website where I can help you and your team make your website better. That's absolutely free. And if I'm not able to do that, I'll send them $100. That's my guarantee. So I stand on my word, and I never take on a client that I can't help. If I'm looking at their system and like I got an e-commerce referral the other day, that's not somebody I'm going to take on because I'm really serious about staying with home service right now. And so when you honor your word and you turn down business that you could have taken money from and maybe done a poor job, maybe I could have done a good job on it. I think I could probably figure it out eventually, but I'm not going to take a job like that just for the check, right? So I've got to know that I can bring them value and I'm not going to take it on without it. And so again, that goes into my story. When that home service business owner reads my bio and I say, "Hey, I regularly turn down business because it's not a good fit, or I just don't feel like I'm going to be able to bring that customer value," that rings a different bell, than the regular guy who's going, "I'll get you on page 1 of Google," That's what everybody else says.
Okay. Another question would be, a lot of SEO agencies out there, so they're either generic, like general for every, like e-commerce, home service,
Sure.
landscaper, SaaS companies, and so on. And few of them are specific, like yours. So where is the difference, and how important is to be very profiled in one specific niche or industry?
Well, I think I know I'll speak from my own self. I was a business consultant buddy of mine years and years ago told me I needed to niche down to one industry, but I was afraid to do it because I'm going to lose all this other business. But the reality is when you clarify your messaging and clean out and say, "I'm not talking to anybody else but you," when you do that, that makes people's ears perk up. People go, "Oh, I'm that." If you say, "I do SEO for businesses," that rings kind of. But if I say, "I do hyper-targeted, hyper-local SEO for home service businesses, for HVAC, plumbers, remodelers, roofers, and any other person who touches the home," that rings a different bell because all those people go, "Oh, that's me." So that's why it's more effective. It's just, it just takes the commitment and the willingness to go down that road.
So what's your intake on this? What's for the people that are hearing right now that have DOP, if they should pick their niche or not, they should stay generic. What's your message for them?
If you do that, AI is going to kill you dead. AI is going to throw you down off your horse, stomp you into a mud hole, and leave you for dead. That's what's going to happen. Because AI is summing too fast. Too many people can do too much too fast now. And so anybody who's generic, you've got to become an expert in something. Hang your hat on something. And, state your claim. Go be an expert in that thing. And, look at being a consultant and look for ways that you can bring AI to the table for these customers. That's what one of the things we're building out right now is how we can build out a service set around AI for the home service business owner, because it's becoming mature enough that becomes relevant, and that causes us to be more relevant for them. We're not saying choose us instead of AI. We're saying choose us with AI, and we will bring the AI service to you that's vetted, that's proven, that's going to bring value to your table.
Yeah, that makes sense. But since you mentioned it, your AI tool, or what that AI tool is capable of doing, first of all, for you and then for the client.
Well, I have several. I don't have any AI tools built yet. We're in the middle of testing a few things. What I have on my website is probably a dozen or so free tools that different home service business owners can use. So on my homepage, you can go and test your actual ranking for your keyword, your main keyword for your home service business. You can go test your Google Maps ranking. And in that, it'll also show you your main competitors ranking. You can do that for free. And so that's something that, we pay for that. We pay money for that service so that home service business owners can go and test that for free. And somebody can just go to my homepage, frontburnermarketing.net. It's not .com, it's .net.
Yeah.
And just scroll down to about midway on the homepage. And you just enter your keyword there and hit enter. And or enter your profile. I can't remember. It's either your profile or your keyword. And hit enter. You can test one keyword per day, every day for free. And then I've got a bunch of other tools.
The client has for free because you have to pay.
Say it again.
The client has for free because you have to pay APIs and credits and whatever.
I pay for that.
Yeah.
But it lets them have. I'm all about delivering as much free value as I can, because people get ripped off enough. What I'm trying to do is, if you've got the time, you shouldn't have the time because you should be out there roofing houses if you're a roofer. But if you've got the time and you want to try to tackle it, I want to provide you with as much free tools, as many free tools and free information that I can, that you could conceivably do your own SEO through what I'm giving you. But again, you should not be doing that because your time should be spent roofing houses,
According to your experience, do you have a lot of cases when people want to do SEO for themselves, or you have more cases that people just want to trust you, then handle the SEO services for you and your SEO agency?
Home service business owners that understand value will hire me. Anybody that comes to me trying to do it themselves or trying to get me on a lowball offer or whatever, I already understand they don't understand the value. And that's okay. But that's another thing the free information serves, is if you want to go out there and just find some cheap agency, you can go find one. They'll take your money, they won't deliver value, and you'll have wasted money. Or if you really think you can do this, if you've got a lot of computer knowledge and a lot of digital knowledge and a good handle on the online world, there's conceivably a chance you could take a couple hours a night and do this yourself. But you're still going to be taking a couple hours a night. How much is 50 hours a month worth to you, And that's what I always tell people. You can hire our agency for the same dollars you would pay an intern, like $12 an hour. What kind of intern do you think you're going to get for $12 an hour today? Not much. And you've got to pay taxes, you've got to pay insurance, you've got to pay unemployment insurance. So that ends up being about a $20 an hour employee for you. Okay, you can hire us for less than that. You can fire us at will. We do monthly contracts. We don't hold anybody to yearly contracts. We never do that. So then you've got the equivalent of a $12 an hour employee that you can fire anytime, and they're an expert. Would you hire an expert for $12 an hour? Of course you would. Of course you would. If you could hire an expert for $12 an hour, you would. Anybody would. If I could go hire Alex Hormozy for $12 an hour all day, I'd find ways to hire him 3 times. But that's what I'm saying, is that when you truly understand the value, then they buy, because it's a no-brainer. But everybody doesn't always understand the value. That's why homeowners choose cheap contractors. That happens all the time. We call them chuck in a truck. They'll get a bid from a reputable contractor, and they don't like it because they say it's too high. And then some guy that just slaps a sign on his truck comes by and gives them half that price, and they take it. But then their home gets ruined because the guy rips half of it off and leaves with the money, or he doesn't know what he's doing and he messes it up. So the value is the value, and you have to buy into the value, or you don't buy, and that's okay.
For the home service owners out there that might listen this, because we're making reels, so what's the average price that they should able to pay in order not to get scammed and still manage to get good service in SEO and local SEO and LMS as well?
Well, the market's changing a lot because of AI. For us, we start at $1,500, and for $1,500 a month, we're going to manage your website. We're going to manage your GBP, your location. If you have multiple locations, we'll work out a deal with you. So there's an incremental increase per location, but depending on what you've got, I just can't give a blanket price for that. But for that, we're going to be blogging twice a week. We're going to be posting on their GBP twice a week. We're going to optimize our entire GBP. And you probably already know this, but Google recently has pulled in socials to the GBP. And so it's really important that your social posting is on point with that. So we can provide posts to put out on socials, or for a small extra fee, we can manage those socials as far as just getting the kind of offers out and things. Because that's one thing that homeowners need to understand, is you need to regularly be demonstrating what you do and how you do it with videos on your socials. Then you need to regularly be putting out your offers. So we'll install this many cabinets for this price in June. Anybody who signs up in June, we're going to put this roof on your house for this many dollars off for anybody who signs up in June. So those kind of offers need to be going out on your socials regularly. But then you also need to be mixing in reviews and then demonstrating how you do what you do. So all that needs to be pumped out on your socials. It's like your life's blood, right? But then what happens is Google is now pulling those in to GBP and returns on your Google business profile. And so it's these kind of things that you have so much to keep up with. You just don't have time to do this. But so for $1,500, we're going to manage your website. We're going to manage your GBP and optimize it. Then we do citations and all that other good stuff that, a good reputable agency is going to do for you. So that's what you get. That's kind of our starting price. We've got a base level website management package. For $250 a month, we'll post a blog post for you. If you've got other material, we'll do unlimited posting of your material. So if you're posting, we'll host the site. But that's kind of where we're at. I know a lot of guys are out there with cheaper prices, but I know what we bring to the table and how much work we put into it. And so I feel good about our value that we're delivering.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we mentioned Google Business Profile, and nowadays, perhaps it goes without saying, but a lot of updates happened and a lot of changes these days, especially in Google Business Profile. One of the things that I wanted to ask is, how do you see the Google algorithm updates, especially when they're trying and they have integrated GMB into Google Analytics and Google Search Console as well? So what's the whole strategy to rank a site through GMB, since we know that GMB has been there since forever? What has changed right now? You mentioned citation, directories, twice a month or 4 times a month posting on GMB as well. What's a bulletproof idea while we speak with all this AI and everything that is going on right now?
Really, I think relevance is the bulletproof idea. You've got to prove who you are and how you serve your clients. LLM search is evolving, and Google has just made the biggest change they've made in 25 years to the way that search interacts with the person. So when you open up your computer and you go to search now, Google's rolling out this new AI search box that behaves differently than search has ever behaved before. And so business owners, you've got to understand you're completely out of time. You do not have time to wait on this, to hope it gets better, to wait for the storm clouds to clear. Whatever reason you've been waiting before, you're out of time. You must change your tactics to prove in a holistic way, not just with a few words on your website, but prove in a holistic way that you're an expert in what you do, you're an expert in serving customers where you serve them, and that you deliver value with good reviews. You have to do this, and you've got to do it on multiple platforms. So your bulletproof idea is relevance across the universe of online assets. That's the only way that I see to be bulletproof.
We have reviews that also has been there the whole time. So how important are the reviews right now while we speak, especially the Google Business Profile reviews, and then Yelp reviews, an old kind of Trustpilot, any kind of Facebook reviews on anything. So how do you see reviews in this area that we are right now with AI and LMS when they pick data?
That's actually one of the things. I just did a video earlier today on this, because what we see is that AI, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, even Microsoft, their AI, what is it, Copilot? Yep. They are going to pull from different sources than just Google Business Profile. I have seen AI return people and return them over somebody with more Google reviews than this person had. They returned the guy with fewer reviews because he had reviews. I don't know if you're ready for this. They had reviews from Thumbtack and from Foursquare. And so Foursquare has been dead in the water for, I don't know, at least 10 years. And somehow AI is bringing them back as being a valid review source. And so you have to just understand, this is where a pro is going to save you so much time. Like, for instance, you just mentioned Yelp, and Yelp is a good platform to use, but Yelp reviews only show up by people who are regularly using Yelp. Okay. So if you use Yelp all the time and I don't, and both you and me go and review Bob's Painting Company, your review will show up, mine will not. So if a home service business owner hears Yelp and then he starts incentivizing Yelp reviews, then 200 of his customers go out there and do Yelp reviews, but only 20 of them are regularly Yelping. You only get 20 reviews. So it's little things like that, nuances that's what a pro is going to bring to you, is they're going to bring a knowledge of the landscape that, I mean, you'll end up dumping. I mean, think about how much time you would do to incentivize 200 reviews, but you're going to lose 80% of that value because of something you didn't even know about. That kind of stuff is all through the landscape of SEO. And so that's really why you want a pro. Like, the latest reasons that Google is suspending profiles, you're not going to know that because you don't know what to look for and where to look for it. So it's a tough world out there for a small business owner, especially if you want to do it on your own. You've got a big mountain to climb to be able to gain the information you need to gain, to not waste your time and money.
You mentioned Google Business suspended, but one of the things that we're seeing since a while ago is that we see that Google reviews are getting revoked, on somehow suspending and leaving a mark that this business, we have revoked and removed some reviews because it didn't comply. So
yeah,
how do you think that this is impacting businesses and how we should be able to use in the right way?
Well, so Google has had a fake review problem for a long time. And what they're starting to get better about is algorithmically removing these bad reviews. Well, the problem you get into with that is you catch up a lot of the good reviews as well. And so then these poor business owners, again, they get the short end of the stick. They have to go through the reattachment process, the review process, the a protest, whatever they call that. There's a technical name for it I can't bring to mind right now, but it's when you go to Google and say, hey, these are good reviews, but then you have to prove it was ever there in the first place. So what I always coach my clients to do is go in and take a screenshot of your reviews every month or so and make sure you got back to the last place you left off. So if you're getting 20 reviews a month, you need to get a screenshot of all 20 of those and show that they are on your profile. That way, if they ever do get removed, you've got proof. But yeah, this fake review problem has been a problem for a long time. It's been an established black hat method to get ranked. To go out there, throw up a GBP profile, buy a bunch of fake reviews, and you're established. And Google never did anything about it because, how do you stop that? And so, that's a big thing that Google's rolling out. Anybody out there who's buying reviews, stop doing it now. It could cost you far more than you would gain because your entire profile could get suspended.
The real problem I see it is not that you're gonna lose 5 or 10 reviews, but you're gonna have a bigger problem because you're gonna have a title which says these businesses had both reviews and we removed them because they were fake. So it's everybody who comes to you wanting to book a call is gonna read that and you can see, wait, even those that I see, I don't know if I can trust that anymore, because that's why Google wants you to be seen.
That's right. You're exactly right.
Okay, so the idea was, so whoever is buying, so don't buy because it's gonna hurt your business. It's gonna hurt the whole career. So another question, if we move forward into AI and LMS, and how we can make ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, and the others mention our business if we're helping them with local SEO.
How can I help a local business like a remodeling business get mentioned by LLMs? Yeah, so that gets into the fan out queries. That's a big one. So you can go in, there's several tools that are starting to do this now. Keywords Everywhere offers fan out queries. And what you want to do is you want to go in there and do a search in ChatGPT and then engage. You need to be on the paid version of Keywords Everywhere. It's not very expensive. I think it's $80 or $90 a year. And then what you want to do is incorporate that, and that will give you a list of fan out queries based on the search that you did. That's a good place to start. There are some, if you understand coding, you can go into the source code of ChatGPT itself in Chrome. You need to be using Chrome. Well, I'm sure there's other ways to do it on other ones, but this is how I do it in Chrome. But you can go in there and view the source, and you can just dig through the source code and find the fan out queries. That tells you what ChatGPT is using to attach to what you asked for. So the way you would do that, if you're a remodeling company, you would say remodeling in my city. So if it's Fort Worth, remodeling in Fort Worth, search that in ChatGPT. Then start looking and dig through the code and find those fan out queries. What you're going to find is things like remodeling companies that are expert in converting a bathroom from updating a bathroom and doing a tub to shower conversion. That will all be one query, right? And so you find that, and so, okay, I'm going to lift that whole cloth, and I'm going to start putting it in some of my blog posts. Don't just spam it all over your whole website, but we're going to go put it in the blog post. We would probably title a few blog posts, 5 things you need to know when you do a tub to shower conversion. I would also put on the website, we've installed more than 1,000 tub to shower conversions in the DFW area, because LLMs are looking for the shortest route they can get to verification that this is a good company for what they're looking for. They don't index the whole web the way Google did. They are looking for the shortest route to the answer that they can get and get an answer back for this query. That's the way they do it. So if you put on your homepage, we've installed more than 1,000 bathrooms. Then you put on your bathroom remodeling page, we've installed more than 1,000 bathrooms. And then you start dividing that out into service areas. Well, in Eastern DFW, we've installed more than 250 bathrooms. In Western DFW, we've installed more than 300 bathrooms. In Central DFW, we've installed more than 450 bathrooms. You see, you're stacking up these bricks of evidence, and then LLMs are going to see you as more relevant than the next guy who just says he's a bathroom remodeling company. Even though he might have more reviews than you do, you've shown a more holistic picture of your experience and your expertise. So that's one of the things several of the tactics that we use.
Okay, it's like an algorithm and also another algorithm that says your money, your life algorithm update. When it trigger that whenever you say something that you have done, you also must have proof of that. So it's not just something that you have typed without having any kind of proof.
But Google does a really good job of separating that out. LLMs are not doing that yet, and they've got all kinds of problems. And I don't know if they'll ever catch up to Google. Google has 25 years
and billions of revenue
and search, probably terabytes of data points that they've compiled and to feed their algorithm, and they understand and the problems that they've run into. They've been sued for this, that, and the other, and they're going to learn things from every one of those lawsuits that these LLM companies don't have yet. So, the first person that dies because of a recommendation that ChatGPT makes, which I know it's already happened, then that starts the cycle of, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. Well, Google's got hundreds of those, right? So I just know that when we're working for our clients and trying to get them caught up to being visible on LLMs, it's always about proving expertise. So whereas before all you had to do was get found, you had to just optimize your page to get found for best garage door repair in Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan, right? Now you're claiming that, but then LLMs don't see any proof of that, so they're not going to return you. So it's proving it the same way you'd prove it to a person or an attorney now. It really is.
When you're dealing a lot with home service owners, what's the most common mistake or the same or similar mistake that you see almost everywhere?
Oh, just poor markup, poor optimization. Websites that don't have proper H1 tag structure. I did an assessment yesterday for a client. They had 17 H1 tags, and none of them had keywords in them. And, they had no H2 tags. Then their H3s were all over the place. And so they don't understand the value of that. And they just had the website built poor. I feel really bad for them. But, they just paid all this money to have this website built. They paid over $7,000. And what many website builders don't understand is those headers have SEO value, but they use the headers as sizing for font on the website, and you can't do that. You have to use the headers for SEO value because they're too valuable.
Yeah. Or sometimes they think that the user is already on the site and they just reading the headlines. So the main purpose is that to bring the client in.
Well, and you have so many fewer website visitors than you've ever had now. Every website visitor you get now, you got to treat them like gold, because you just don't get, Google has reduced website clicks so far for the home service business owner. They just don't care about the home service business owner at all. I've said it on other podcasts. Google used to have a sign in their building that says, "Don't be evil." I think they have to have taken that sign down and burned it, because they've hurt small business owners and creators. They just crippled so much organic business, and no, they're not doing anything about it. They say they are, but they're not.
And how do you think a lot of businesses out there should treat, LMS and Google? Should they treat differently, or should they treat the same, especially when we mention H1, H2s, H3s, H4s, and a lot of them? So another thing that I want to mention is in some of the SEMrush and Ahrefs posting on social, they mention the hierarchy of the H1s, of the headings is very important. That's how it's helping some businesses show up on LMS. So how do you think this is important because they did reverse engineering and it's helping. It's like this is the idea of how to use. So how important is the structure and the hierarchy of headings?
Well, I really think that we're coming to a time when some of the technical SEO items are going to fall by the wayside. I think the AI is going to get good enough at reading websites, because at the end of the day, Google wants to return the best business for the search return. Okay, in our field, it's home service. So they want to return the best painting company when Bob, the homeowner, searches painting company near me, right? And so to the extent, I guess here's what I'm saying. The better AI gets at just reading words on a page, the less header tags are going to matter. That's an opinion. I think we're a couple of years away from that, maybe, but I do think that day's coming. For now, I mean, I would have to see that report and understand it. I have not seen H3s and H4s make a big difference, but that's just me. I could be just missing it. There could be reports out there that H3s and H4s matter. I know several years ago, we quit really caring about H3s and H4, and we've done great. H1 and H2 is where it's at. One H1, many H2s with keywords. You don't want keyword stuff. You want variants. You want them to be varied up and stuff like that. But that's been the ones that really make the big difference. But maybe that's something I need to go back and look at again. I'll check those out. Send me those links. You said there's a couple of articles about that. Yeah, send me those links. I'd like to see that.
Actually, what they meant was that if you have a H1, make sure to put it on top. If you have a H2, put it second. If you have a H3, put it third. H4, put it fourth. So the hierarchy of it should be like this. Because we see, actually, I've done it sometimes. Okay, I put an H2 at first, then I put an H1 second, and then I continue. So as long as it has one H1 and up to 8 H2s, we're fine. And actually, as well, I don't care a lot about H3 and H4 unless it fits the font at some point. So it's not that they do serve an SEO purpose at this stage when we are. So, okay, one of my last questions, since we're approaching the end, would be how do you see AI and how we should stay ahead, or if not stay ahead, how we should stay with it, with the achievement that everything is going on, and with the SEO and local SEO perspective, how do you see it that we should stay on top of it at least?
I think you always have to be thinking of value for the customer first. If you do that, you'll be fine, because I think there's a 80-20 rule out there for people in marketing. I think 80% of people in marketing don't understand value and how to deliver it to the client. They've stumbled across something that works, but the reason their entity dies is because they don't understand value. And so at the end of the day, the guy swinging the hammer, who's installing the window, who's re-roofing the house, who's redoing the kitchen, he's got to do that. He needs you to come alongside and be an effective, professional advisor for what is going to bring him the most value. That's what he needs, and that's what we try to be for our clients.
Yeah, very crucial. So one of the things that I ask every one of my guests is a harsh truth about when to fire a client. It's very hard to do, but sometimes you got to do, man.
Yeah. And I hate to keep kind of repeating the same line here, but it really does come down to value. If they don't see value in you, then they're going to start beating you down on price. They're going to start beating you up about this and that, the little details and stuff like that. The moment that the value you can deliver to the client is outweighed by what they're costing you in time and stress, that's for me one of the key signs. And what I do is I build into my pre-approval process certain questions. I'm looking for certain signs. Number one, I never hide pricing. I want to hit them with pricing as early as possible, because anybody who's going, I've got 5 guys who could do it for $500 a month. Great. You need to go hire one of those guys. Get them out. The other thing I look for is just people who are hassle oriented. There's a lot of business owners who are micromanagers. And the minute they start saying, I want to know how every minute was spent this month. Well, we're not having the same conversation. The truth is, I'm going to bring you value by taking the stress off your plate of having your website taken care of, having somebody who's in your website every day, who's looking at what's going on, and is coming back to you and going, okay, here's the things we fixed. Here's the things we're working on. Here's the success that we've brought so far. Here's the future success that we're about to bring you. If you don't see enough value in that to pay the price, please. Well, I'm not going to sit here and validate minutes with you. I'm not going to do that. If you want to do that, what I'll do is I'll mark my base price, and every unit we go over, which we always do, we can do a per minute on that. You want to do it that way? They never do want to do it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's the harsh truth, because sometimes we face it, and if you only want to work around the price, you might end up attracting the worst clients, and that's not going to serve everyone. So that's
Well, you guarantee yourself that you're going to attract the worst clients. That's a guarantee. That's not even maybe. You're guaranteed.
yeah, that actually makes sense. So okay, we're approaching to the end, and I'm very grateful for this interview, and I'm sure that users have a lot of valuable information, especially in SEO and all these home services that want to look forward for an SEO agency that understand the business first and then understand the SEO as well, which is something 1 in a million or even more to find, which is Kyle Bailey. Kyle Bailey, we really enjoyed every minute of it, so I just want to hear you one message for all home services out there. So we can.
Yeah, I think, we're going to come back to value again. You've got to understand your value and what you bring to clients. I always say home service business owners are babysitters and they're firefighters. And you're spinning all these plates all the time, and you can easily lose sight of your North Star and what your value is, the reason the customer hires you. That's what my book is about. I'll have it out probably within a month. It's called What's Your Story, and how to connect your story to your homeowner's story so that more people buy from you. And I would mention my website, frontburnermarketing.net. I have a dozen or so free tools on there. I've got a list of book recommendations for small business owners that I really love. I've also started Roofer Rocket Marketing. I launched that a couple of months ago. Really excited about that. We also have a roofer directory. So if you're a roofing company with above 4.2 average review stars, you can have a free listing on there. We do also featured listings, but you can have a free listing on there. But you got to be above 4.2 average review stars.
On GMP? On Google Business Profile?
Yes, on Google Business Profile. You got to be above 4.2 to qualify to be on our roofing directory.
Makes sense. Okay, once again, thank you very much, Kyle Bailey. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Well, I have one final question.
Yeah.
What is your book called? You said you've got a book coming out. Do you have a title for it?
Yeah, we're working around, me and my team, they are also helping. I need to mention that as well. There's also a co-writer in United States, Matt Stanley. He's trying to summarize his part as well. The book is about SaaS founders that want to learn more about SEO, as your book as well, that it mentioned how not to end up in a scam, because SEO sometimes is very close, and especially we're specialized in SaaS companies and for SaaS founders, and my book is all about that. Since I had a master's degree on business informatics and my thesis was about SEO, I wanted to get specialized on my first book on SEO for SaaS.
Nice. Love it. Well, keep me involved. Keep me in the loop when you publish it. I want to hear about it, and I want to read it.
Yeah, definitely. Same for your book, man. I will look forward to hear it and read it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you. The pleasure was mine.